The prophecy of the golden rain. Have you ever heard a prophecy so terrifying it would drive a king to imprison his own daughter? Well, settle in, because this is the story of how one of the greatest heroes of Greek mythology came to be against all odds. Our tale begins in the ancient city of Argos, ruled by King Acrisius. He had everything a king could want: wealth, power, respect, everything except a son. He had only one child, his beautiful daughter, Danaë. Consumed by the desire for a male heir and anxious about his kingdom's future, Acrisius traveled to the legendary Oracle of Delphi to seek answers, but the prophecy he received wasn't a comfort. It was a curse. The oracle declared, "You will have no sons, but your daughter Danaë will bear a son, and he will be the one to end your life." Fear, cold and absolute, gripped the king's heart. He returned to Argos not with peace, but with a horrifying plan. To cheat fate, he would ensure his daughter never met a man. He commanded the construction of a chamber made entirely of bronze, built deep beneath the earth with only a tiny slit in the ceiling for light and air. Into this gilded prison, he cast his own daughter, Danaë, hoping to lock away the prophecy along with her. He thought he had outsmarted destiny itself. But you can't imprison a god's will. Zeus, the mighty king of the gods, looked down from Mount Olympus and saw the lonely, weeping princess. Captivated by her beauty and spirit, he devised a way to reach her where no mortal could. One night, as Danaë prayed in despair, a miraculous golden light began to pour through the ceiling. It wasn't sunlight, but a shower of pure gold, shimmering and warm. This was Zeus himself visiting her in a divine, inescapable form. From this heavenly union, a child was conceived. A son. His name was Perseus. For a time, Danaë managed to keep her baby a secret, but a child's cries cannot be silenced forever. When King Acrisius inevitably discovered the infant, his old terror returned, 100 times stronger. The prophecy was alive, breathing in his own palace. He couldn't bring himself to directly kill his own grandson and daughter. The wrath of the gods for such a crime would be swift and terrible. So he devised another cruel solution. He forced Danaë and the baby Perseus into a large wooden chest, sealed it shut, and cast it into the vast, unforgiving sea, leaving them to the mercy of the waves. The chest tossed and turned on the open ocean, a tiny, fragile vessel in a world of water. For days, mother and child drifted between violent storms and unnerving calm. It seemed their fate was sealed, destined to be lost at sea. But remember what I said about destiny? It has a funny way of finding a path. The chest, guided by an unseen hand, washed ashore on the island of Seriphos. There, a kind fisherman named Dictys was casting his nets when he saw the strange wooden box. He dragged it to shore and, upon opening it, was astonished to find a beautiful woman and healthy baby boy inside. Dictys, whose name means net, had a good heart. He took Danaë and Perseus into his home, offering them safety and shelter. He raised Perseus as if he were his own son, teaching him the ways of the world. How to be strong, and most importantly, how to be good. And so, years passed on the quiet island of Seriphos. Perseus grew from a boy into a man. He was unlike any other, strong, courageous, and with a noble spirit that seemed to shine from within. He was a hero in the making, a son of two worlds, the mortal realm of his mother and the divine fire of his father, Zeus. His journey was just beginning, and the prophecy still hung in the air, waiting for its moment. But for now, he was safe, unaware of the incredible destiny that awaited him. The impossible quest. Peace is a fragile thing, especially when the threads of fate are already woven. King Polydectes, the ruler of Seriphos, was a man consumed by greed and cruelty. It wasn't long before his eyes fell upon Danaë, whose beauty was as renowned as her tragic past. He desired her, but there was one obstacle standing in his way: her son, Perseus. By now, Perseus was no longer a boy. He had grown into a strong, proud young man, fiercely protective of his mother, He saw the king's lustful gazes and stood as a vigilant guardian, a constant thorn in Polydectes' side. The king grew more and more annoyed by the young man's defiance. He couldn't simply cast Perseus aside. He needed a more cunning, more permanent solution. And so a wicked plan began to form in the king's dark heart. Polydectes announced a grand feast, inviting all the nobles of the island. In the midst of the celebration, he stood and declared his intention to marry Hippodamia, a princess from a neighboring kingdom. To win her hand, he boomed, I require extravagant gifts from all my loyal subjects, gifts worthy of a future queen. Each guest, eager to please, promised lavish presents, fine horses, ornate armor, and chests of gold. But Perseus, living a humble life with his mother, possessed no such wealth. He stood before the king empty-handed, but with his head held high. My king, he said, his voice steady, I have no riches to offer, but my loyalty and my strength are yours to command. I will undertake any challenge you set before me. This was the moment Polydectes had been waiting for. A cruel, triumphant smile spread across his face. He leaned in, his voice dripping with malice, loud enough for the entire hall to hear. If you have no horses to give, young Perseus, then bring me a gift of a different sort. Bring me the head of Medusa. A wave of shocked silence fell over the hall, quickly broken by jeers and derisive laughter. Medusa, the Gorgon whose hideous face was so terrifying, whose gaze was so powerful, that it turned any living creature that looked upon her instantly to stone. Her lair was a garden of statues, the stone figures of heroes who had dared to face her and failed. The quest was not just impossible, it was a death sentence. The laughter echoed, stinging Perseus's pride far more than any physical blow could. His face burned with shame and anger. He looked at the sneering king, at the mocking faces of the court, and a fire ignited within him. He would not be humiliated. He would not be dismissed as a penniless boy. Drawing himself up to his full height, his voice rang out, silencing the room. I accept your challenge. I will bring you the head of Medusa. A hush fell once more. The nobles stared, mouths agape. Had the boy lost his mind? Polydectes' smile widened. His trap had been sprung perfectly. Perseus, in his youthful pride, had just willingly walked into it. What the young hero did not yet understand was the true nature of his promise. He had just sworn to embark on a journey from which no mortal had ever returned. The impossible quest had begun. As Perseus walked the lonely shores, lost and unsure of where to even begin his impossible quest, two divine figures appeared before him, their presence as radiant as the dawn. It was the goddess of wisdom, Athena, and the messenger of the gods, Hermes. Athena, whose gray eyes held the wisdom of ages, spoke first. You will not fight this battle alone, son of Zeus. Though your courage is great, even the bravest hero needs guidance to see clearly. Hermes, a playful glint in his eye, tossed Perseus a shining blade that caught the sunlight. This sword, he said with a grin, is an adamantine sickle, and it will never break, not even against the hide of a Gorgon. He then presented Perseus with a magnificent shield, polished to a perfect mirror-like finish. And this, he continued, will show you what cannot be seen directly. Athena then issued a grave warning, her voice firm. Do not, under any circumstances, look directly at Medusa. Her gaze turns all living things to stone. You must only view her through the reflection in the shield. Only then will you survive. Armed with these divine gifts, Perseus had the tools for the fight, but he still lacked direction. Where on earth could he find the Gorgons? Athena and Hermes advised him to seek out the Gryae, also known as the Grey Sisters. These three ancient hags lived in a land of perpetual twilight and shared a single eye and a single tooth between them. Perseus journeyed to their cave and found them passing the eye from one to another. Watching his moment, he lunged forward and snatched the eye right out of their hands as it was being passed. The sisters shrieked in panic and confusion, begging for their precious sight to be returned. "I will give it back," Perseus said, his voice calm but firm amidst their cries. "But first, you must tell me where to find the nymphs of the north." Trapped and fearful, the Grey sisters had no choice but to reveal the secret location, a hidden sun-drenched valley where sacred treasures were kept. Perseus, true to his word, returned their eye and set off. When he arrived in the hidden valley, the nymphs of the north greeted him warmly. They had been expecting him and bestowed upon him the final gifts he would need for his quest. First, a pair of winged sandals, allowing him to soar through the skies like a bird. Second, a special leather pouch, a kibises, which could safely contain the dangerous head of Medusa. And finally, the most powerful gift of all, the Cap of Darkness, a helmet belonging to Hades himself, which would render its wearer completely invisible. Now, truly armed by the gods and guided by fate, Perseus was ready. He strapped the winged sandals to his feet, secured the pouch at his side, and with the helmet of invisibility clutched. In his hand, he rose into the air and set his course for the very edge of the world. The final terrifying confrontation with Medusa was at hand. His destiny awaited. Today, we journey with Perseus to the very edge of the world for one of ancient Greece's most legendary showdowns. Let's dive into the final, thrilling chapter of his quest. Imagine a land forgotten by the sun, a desolate shore where stone statues stand frozen in eternal horror. This is the lair of the Gorgons, the dreaded sisters whose gaze turns flesh to stone. This is where Perseus, guided by the gods, must tread. As he arrived, the air grew cold, filled with a faint hissing sound. There, amidst the shattered rocks and the petrified remains of heroes who came before, slept three monstrous figures. Their hair wasn't hair at all, but a tangled mass of writhing, venomous snakes. Their skin had a sickly greenish hue, and from their backs sprouted wings like those of great blackened bats. Two of these creatures, Steno and Euryale, were immortal, ancient beings of pure terror. But the third, the one sleeping in the center, was different. This was Medusa. It's a tragic tale. She was once a mortal maiden of breathtaking beauty, a priestess in Athena's temple. But when she was wronged within the sacred walls, the goddess's rage was not directed at the perpetrator, but at Medusa herself. As a cruel punishment, Athena cursed her, transforming her beauty into a horrifying visage that no man could look upon and live. Perseus knew this. He knew that a single glance, even an accidental one, would mean his end. Hovering silently above the ground on his winged sandals, a gift from Hermes, he was a ghost in the twilight. He held his breath, every nerve on fire. He couldn't look at them directly. His only hope was the polished bronze shield given to him by Athena. It was his mirror, his guide, his only chance at survival. Using the distorted reflection in the shield, he navigated the treacherous terrain. Each step was a gamble. He saw the reflection of Medusa stirring in her sleep. Her snake hair twisted and writhed, sensing a presence. Her eyes, the source of the deadly curse, began to flutter open. Time was running out. It was now or never. With a surge of divine strength and mortal courage, Perseus raised his sword, the adamantine sickle, sharp enough to cut through anything. He locked his gaze on the reflection, calculated the angle, and with one swift, decisive motion, he struck. The blade flashed once, a silent, divine arc through the gloom. There was no grand battle, no prolonged struggle. Just a single perfect strike. Medusa's head was severed from her body. Without looking, Perseus swiftly scooped it into the special pouch, the kibises, which would contain its deadly power. But the story doesn't end there. From the spot where Medusa's blood soaked into the earth, two incredible beings sprang forth. The first was Pegasus, the magnificent winged horse, who soared into the sky, a symbol of poetry and inspiration. The second was Chrysaor, a warrior born wielding a golden sword. They were the last children of Medusa, flying away to create their own legends. The commotion and the scent of blood woke Medusa's immortal sisters. Their shrieks of fury and grief were said to shake the very foundations of the earth. They rose, their snake hair hissing madly, their eyes scanning the darkness for their sister's killer, but Perseus was already gone. He placed the helmet of Hades on his head and vanished from sight, becoming invisible. Carried by the wind in his winged sandals, he flew back across the sea, leaving the enraged, immortal Gorgons to their eternal sorrow. His quest was complete, but his journey wasn't over. When he finally returned to the island of Seriphos, he didn't find the celebration he expected. Instead, he found his mother, Danaë, in desperate peril. She had taken refuge in a temple, hiding from the cruel King Polydectes, who had been trying to force her into marriage, believing Perseus was dead. Polydectes was feasting in his hall with his arrogant followers when Perseus strode in. The king mocked him, demanding to see the prize he claimed to have won. "Where is the head of the Gorgon boy?" he sneered. Perseus looked at his mother's frightened face and then at the tyrant king. His voice was calm but cold. "If you truly wish to see it," he said, "then look." Before anyone could react, he reached into his pouch and drew out the head of Medusa. Even in death, the curse held its power. As the king and his courtiers looked up, their jeers turned to gasps of horror. In a heartbeat, they returned to stone, their expressions of shock and arrogance frozen for all time. The throne room became a silent gallery of statues, a testament to their own hubris. With the tyrant gone, peace was finally restored. The good fisherman Dictys, who had cared for Perseus and his mother, was made the new rightful ruler of the island. Perseus, a true hero, knew the divine gifts he held were not his to keep. He returned the winged sandals, the helmet, and the pouch to Hermes and Athena, thanking them for their aid. As for the Gorgon's head, he gave it to his patron goddess, Athena. She accepted the fearsome trophy and placed it upon the center of her own shield, the Aegis. It became a powerful symbol of divine protection, a warning to all who would dare challenge the gods. And so the epic journey of Perseus comes to a close. The mortal boy, born of a golden shower and a prophecy, who faced down fate, monsters, and wicked kings. His name was etched into history, and as a final honor, the gods placed him among the stars. The constellations of Perseus, Andromeda, Cassiopeia, and even the sea monster Cetus can still be seen in the night sky, a timeless reminder of his tale. It's a story that teaches us that true courage isn't about being fearless. It's about acting despite your fear. And that when that courage is guided by wisdom and aided by friendship, it has the power to overcome any obstacle, to turn even fate itself to stone. Thank you so much for joining us on this incredible adventure through Greek mythology. What's your favorite part of Perseus's story? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this, please hit that like button and subscribe for more dailies from the ancient world. We'll see you in the next video.